The main political group in the European Parliament, the EPP-ED group, is back to business this week after the summer recess with a meeting of its presidency and heads of national delegation here in Munich. A European approach to the future regulation of CO2 emissions in the car industry, the liberalisation of the European energy market and the health check of the common agricultural policy are the topics on the agenda. We expect significant progress during the course of the French presidency of the Council of the European Union on each of these points, said EPP-ED Chairman Joseph Daul. Addressing the Minister-President of Bavaria, Günther Beckstein, the Chairman of the CSU Party, Erwin Huber, as well as the Chairman of the CSU delegation of the EPP-ED group, Margus Ferber MEP, Mr Daul raised the issue of the regional elections which will take place on the 28th of September. He reiterated his hope that, once again, the centre-right in Europe will be strengthened even further after these elections. The EPP-ED presidency concluded its first day of the meeting with a debate on a low-carbon future and how to achieve a political vision in the automotive industry. The debate focused on the question of how to strike a balance between reducing CO2 emissions on the one hand without causing damage to the competitiveness of Europe's automotive industry on the other. The road transport sector is the second highest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the EU, being responsible for 20% of all emissions, and more importantly, it is a sector in which emissions continue to increase, stressed Jean-Louis Borloo, French Minister of State for Ecology, Sustainable Planning and Development. The significant progress made in reducing CO2 emissions, thanks to automotive technology, has been neutralised by the increase in traffic. Jerzy Buzek MEP, former Prime Minister of Poland and the EPP-ED's rapporteur on a European strategic energy plan towards a low-carbon future, stressed the need to cut down emissions and the responsibility of the EPP-ED to complete legislation for environmental protection by the end of the year.
We need to be leader as the European Union because we are responsible both in Poznan and Copenhagen for international agreement on cutting down CO2 emission. And we just started legislation in this field. Emission trading system and some legislation for automotive industry means that we introduce carbon price. CO2 emission costs is quite a new idea, and it could be also killing idea for our industry. So our responsibility from the level of EU is also to help our industry. So having cost of emission of CO2, we must introduce new technologies. So we have strategic energy technology plan for the EU.
Werner Langen MEP, Chairman of the CDU-CSU delegation in the EP and the EPP-ED group rapporteur on reduction of CO2 emissions from light-duty vehicles, emission standards for new passenger cars, underlined the need to find a balance between the demands of legislation and the need for more jobs and development in the automotive industry. I hope we can find a common position by the end of the year, but this is difficult because of one simple reason: different national interests. We agree that we must reduce CO2 emissions and we have ambitious targets. We must give time to the European automotive industry in order to maintain its key position on the world market. We must negotiate and be willing to make compromises. Road transport is one of the few sectors where emissions are still rising rapidly, which is undermining rather than helping the EU's efforts to tackle climate change. The new proposed regulation predicts lower CO2 emissions. The EPP-ED group is trying to strike the right balance between looking after the environment and protecting the need for jobs and development. This programme was brought to you by the EPP-ED group, the largest political group in the European Parliament. For more information, check out our website, epp-ed.eu. See you again soon.